Welcome back to the 11th episode of the Diving Into Sports podcast with your hosts Lyle and Nash Henry. Let's dive into today's topic. So, Sepp went really low on Sunday to claim the John Deere Classic title in Silvis, Illinois. And really, it did get kind of close at the end, but once he went really low, you kind of knew he was likely going to win. And it was well-deserved. I mean, he shot 62 in round 4. Nash, well, what are your thoughts on this?
I will say I got a little worried with him possibly not winning at the end when he hit that shot in the water in the last hole, but he made up for it with, just the whole round was so good except for that little blip at the end that it made up for. He had one of the best days in PGA Tour history, in PGA Tour recent history, I should say. Sepp I've always liked. He's been one of my favorite golfers. He's from Austria. He's been up there for a while. He won the Honda Classic a couple of years ago, but this was another good breakthrough for him. I think we could see him climbing the world golf ranks even more.
Yeah, he has just, he, again, did well in the FedEx Cup, and a name that most golf fans should know, but isn't one of those big names. But if he can just pour in a few wins like this, we saw him play some high-class golf this week. In round 4, he was on watch for the PGA Tour record, period. The record best score ever in a round of golf on the PGA Tour. He was in the running for that for a while, which is a 58, which is incredible. Jim Furyk shot that at the Travelers a few years ago. So then he hit his ball in the water on 18 and ended up double bogeying to shoot 62, which is still amazing, but it made him upset, which is crazy to say after shooting 62 you're upset, but clearly he was upset because they brought the other guys like Brendan, Todd, and Alex Smalley back into it, and ultimately they couldn't catch up to him still, which just shows how crazy good that round by Sepp was. But then you have other names like the Indianian Adam Schenk was in the top 5.
He went to Purdue.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But still. Then you have Ludwig Aberg, fresh out of college, in the top 5. He's from Sweden, so that's cool. And even though it wasn't super tight at the end, it was still, I'm never going to say there's a tournament that wasn't fun to watch. So you got to like Sepp, too. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, for being a tournament, not a designated event, it was a pretty good leaderboard. Sepp Straka, former PGA Tour winner. You got a couple former PGA Tour winners up there with Brendan Todd and Smalley and Lucas Glover. But then, like you touched on, Aberg, he's just, from college a couple months ago to PGA Tour has been a quick start for him. He's just an excellent transitioning. He's a name that, I think could become one of the biggest ever. I just think he is a very impressive young golfer who has a lot of talent.
And it was 2 weeks ago, I think, when I said that Ludwig Aberg is due for a win, and then now he's gone on a tear. So I don't want to be the one to say that I called it myself, but I did call it, so I am.
He hasn't won yet, but
I did call the fact that he'd be doing really well, which he has done very well, and he's on the watch of many people to break through and win, even if it's not this year, which I bet it will be. If it's not this year, it will be next year, I guarantee you. That guy is good.
Now, a name that we saw up there the whole week that kind of faded off in round 3 and bled even more in round 4 a bit, but Jonas Blixt from Sweden, and someone who's really just been struggling to play on the PGA Tour, did really well this week. He was the 36-hole leader in Deere at Deere Run. He played excellent golf the whole week. His first top 20 in a long time from Sweden. He went to Florida State. He used to play on the PGA Tour weekly, but now, I think this was his 10th start in the last year, so it's not like it's a common thing for him to play on the PGA Tour, and play well, but that's what happened this past week. He finished in 17th, like I said. So, I mean, he's definitely on the upswing after a promising week here.
Yeah, Jonas Blix, he's 39, and it's hard for people. It's the young guns on the PGA Tour can just hit it so far that it's getting harder and harder for the older guys on the PGA Tour to compete with the guys in their low 20s. So for Jonas Blix to go low was really impressive, and I was a fan of that. And then to hang around the whole week was also really impressive, considering he hasn't been in that spot in a very long time. And then
I would like to just add a name who finished in 21st, Garrick Higo, who won the Palmetto Championship at Congaree in 2021. That was his only other PGA Tour win. Has been his only PGA Tour win. He finished in 21st and also got off to a really hot start to begin the week, but he's played really good golf in the past, but lately, just like Blix, it's kind of faded off, but maybe he's found his momentum again. He's another guy I've liked for a while, so I was happy to see him do well from South Africa. He's met with Gary Player, so he's one of the bigger South African names, so it's good to get that kind of brand out there because South Africa has produced some of the best golfers ever, like Gary Player and Ernie Els.
Yeah, back to golfers that we've touched on, Blix and Higo, golfers that started off well. And, usually you see them fall off after round one because it's like you have one hot day and then you get nervous and you're done. But another golfer that I really do want to give a shout out to because he's been on a long road back from mental health struggles and just a tough stretch of golf. Grayson Murray. He had a really good chance to win the whole week, and he finished tied 6th, that's 16 under. He normally plays on the Korn Ferry Tour, which is basically the minor leagues of the PGA Tour. So, great opportunity for him, and he fulfilled top 10, very nice, on the most elite tour.
Yeah, and then the last two guys that I've really liked that did well this week that I would like to touch on. First, Yuto Katsuragawa, who's a Monday qualifier for this event. He finished in 26th. He also made the cut of the U.S. Open a few weeks ago. He plays regularly on the Korn Ferry Tour. I think he will definitely get a PGA Tour win at some point in his career because I really like his game. He finished in the top 30. And then also, when you scroll down here to 57th place, you got Gordon Sargent, who I really like, who is young from Vanderbilt. He is still an amateur, but his game is still on the upswing because he hasn't won a PGA Tour event yet, but he also did well at the U.S. Open a couple weeks ago, and his game is trending upward in the right direction, so I like where he's going for the future as well.
Yeah, another person that tied 57th that I mention almost every episode because he's my favorite is Harry Higgs. Makes his 3rd straight cut. He's on a heater going into the Barbasol Championship, which we will release a preview and a recap of that because we will be attending that, actually, round 4 of that, and it'll be incredibly fun for us. But for the John Deere Classic, it really was a great week. It's not a designated event, which I like watching these, I guess you could say, more low-profile golfers fighting for their cards and PGA Tour cards and wanting so desperately to get a win. It's great to see that. And I was happy with the outcome. Sepp is a great guy, and he deserved a win. Again, he's won twice on the PGA Tour
with
now.
Kevin Kisner's caddy on the bag this week, Dwayne Bach, who is another big fellow like Sepp. So that was fun to see, too.
Yeah.
It was a fun week in Silvis, Illinois. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, you can listen to Diving into Sports on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Pocket Casts, and Stitcher. We'd love it if you could follow us on all of those platforms. And check out our Twitter account. Our handle is @NashAndLyle.
By the way, we're now available on Google Podcasts as well.